You might have noticed in coverage of that committee that Victorian Senator Ralph Babet has hurled himself into this aviation inquiry. The United Australia Party senator joined us during one of the short breaks on a very full day of evidence given to the committee. Ralph Babet, welcome to the program. I'm pretty sure we can say for the first time on afternoon briefing, probably a bit overdue, but you are taking an active interest in aviation competition with this committee running today. Why do you believe Qatar Airways deserves extra flights into Australia's major airports?
I believe all airlines deserve extra flights into Australian airports. Why? Because I believe in competition. Why? Because competition lowers prices for the Australian consumer. For too long, Qantas and also, to a lesser extent, Virgin have had basically a duopoly over the Australian market. And what have we seen? Sky-high prices for airfares and terrible customer service. I get complaints up the wazoo about those two. So you know what? It's time for a change.
All right. What's your understanding, or if you like, what's your theory as to why Qatar was rejected?
Here we go. Look, I think, you know what? I don't think, I know. Qantas has a very cosy relationship with the government. Qantas basically owns these halls when it comes to airlines anyway, unfortunately. And because of that cosy relationship, in my opinion, and from the evidence that I've heard, I believe that they've been able to swing things their way. And that needs to end. Look, I understand why it could have happened in the past. Qantas used to be a government-owned airline, fair enough. Yeah. They're not anymore. Qantas is a private corporation. Qantas doesn't socialise their profits, right? And don't do that. But you know what? They'll socialise their losses, though. I don't think so. No more.
All right, but there is an argument that airline and politicians will often put that, sure, it's privately owned, but it answers the national need when required.
Does it really?
Australians.
Does it really? During the COVID pandemic, it did not answer the national need then. Qatar did. Qatar was the airline flying people home, not Qantas, because Qantas cancelled their international flights. Qantas took $2.5 billion from the federal government, though. They did that. So you know what? I think it's overdue that we have an investigation into everything that's been going on around airlines, because look, at the end of the day, who's going to benefit? The Australian consumer. They'll pay less, they'll get better service.
Do you believe Qatar Airways figure, it was in their submission to the committee today, $3 billion in economic benefits to Australia over 5 years?
It's not just them saying this. We've had multiple groups come in and say this. They're probably towards the lower end as well. At the end of the day, it's going to be billions of dollars. It's not just flights into the country, it's tourists coming in because they can get here cheaper. It's all the tourism jobs that goes with it. It's the extended benefit of having people fly here and spend money. We need to get more people into our country. Australia's open. Come and check it out. Biggest, beautiful country around.
All right. One final question. It's a process question, Senator. On the committee, I know you've got, in fact, as we go to air this afternoon, Richard Goyder and Vanessa Hudson coming. Let's not talk too much about that. But within the committee, what is being done to pursue Alan Joyce, the former chief executive? Will he be invited?
Mr. Joyce has been invited. However, Mr. Joyce is currently overseas. However, the second that his feet touch the ground, the hallowed earth of Australia, we will ask him to present himself to the committee for some staunch questioning. Absolutely we will, yes.
OK, we'll keep an eye on that. Now, voting opens in the Voice referendum next week. Why are you and the UAP prolonging legal uncertainty in the pursuit of formalising X as an official no vote?
My friend, it's about fairness. It's about fairness. I say if a tick is going to count as a yes, then a cross should count as a no. Or don't count either of them and only just count the votes when people write yes or write no. Because at the end of the day, if you can't write yes or no and just stick to that, then should you be really making decisions on our national founding document?
All right, but the AEC and the federal court in its first interpretation have knocked it right out of the park.
They have. So they've said that it's a long-standing practice to count ticks as a yes and crosses as a no, which is fair enough. But let me put this to you, right? At one point in time, slavery Slavery wasn't accepted and long-standing practice, and it was fine. And the governments of the day said it was okay, right?
Does this really equate?
Look, it's an example, right? And it's just an example of what was accepted previously and what do we accept today. We don't accept that now. So I put to the AEC, you know what, yes, it's a long-standing practice, but it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's right. So it's about fairness. That's what I care about, fairness.
Ultimately, it's about a legal question, isn't it? Why muddy the waters, though? Because of the fact that effectively the deadline should be Monday, shouldn't it? You don't want this hanging over voters.
We don't want it to hang over voters. No. And you're right. Why muddy any water at all? Count yes and count no. All the rest of it can go in the bin. How about that one?
All right. Dan Andrews finishes his premiership in your home state of Victoria this afternoon. I think you're organising through Friends and Associates some sort of gathering. Now, is that a protest or a celebration? And who will be attending Spring Street?
So I'm not organising it, but I do know that there are people going to Spring Street tonight at 5 p.m. to celebrate the end of Daniel Andrews' tyrannical rule over my home state of Victoria, the most locked down city in the world, 250-something days in lockdown, ring of steel, people couldn't visit dying relatives, you couldn't fly in, you couldn't fly out. Mate, I am so happy to see the back of him, but there's only one problem though. There's only one problem. I don't want Mr. Andrews to sail off into the sunset without first fronting up to a Royal Commission and explaining every single decision that he made.
All right, we don't have one of those yet. We have a different sort of inquiry established by the federal government. Ralph Babet, do you encourage that gathering to be peaceful this afternoon?
Mate, it's going to be peaceful, I'm sure it is. Look, go there with your family and friends, celebrate, it's your democratic right to assemble there. Don't do anything silly, don't get egged on by people that might show up to try and disrupt it. Just have a good time with your family and friends, bring your kids, enjoy yourselves. It's great that Mr. Andrews is gone, but we must hold him to account, and we'll hold to account whoever his replacement is as well. The UAP will not give up fighting for the Australian people.
All right, we've covered a bit of ground with you, Senator Babet. Ralph Babet, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's my kind of party.